Welcome back, everybody, to the First Strike Podcast. This is officially episode number 2. I am your host, and I go by the Marathon Don. And on this week's episode, we're talking UFC Atlanta. And the main event was Kamaru Usman, the former welterweight kingpin, taking on Joaquin Buckley, who's a rising star. I mean, the man just took it and completely destroyed Colby Covington. Finished the Wonder Boy, and it was a stylistic matchup. Everyone was saying, like, hey, does the 38-year-old Kamaru Usman with the bad knees, the former champion and defended the title 5 times, can he still do it? So let's get right into it. I'm going to start with the main event. Let's start with Kamaru Usman. That's exactly where we're going to start because he did it. He used everyone counted him out. The odds had him as the underdog. This is somebody that defended the title 5 times, that was known as the boogeyman, and lately he's been on a 3-fight losing streak, and last night he proved why he was champion for so many years and why he defended the title 5 times. His wrestling ability is second to none. This is one of the only men to take Chimaev to a decision on a few days' notice in a weight class outside his weight. He took the fight on a few days' notice, took him to a decision, and arguably won the 3rd round against the real boogeyman of the UFC. Coming into this fight, Buckley had been on a tremendous win streak, and this is a vicious power puncher. He recently developed some excellent wrestling defense, and we saw against Colby Covington, he had a fantastic sprawl and brawl style where every time Colby was looking to engage, he would just block him off, piece him up on the stand-up. But against Kamaru Usman, man, Usman's wrestling is on a next level. Like, it's to the point that if you're not able to stop that takedown, you're not getting up. And I think that was the biggest challenge in this fight for Buckley, that once he got down, it was just so suffocating and so challenging for him to stand up that, I don't have the control time, but he was on the bottom for, at least 70% of the fight. And every time he did get up, Usman was just walking him down, ready to go for that takedown, to implement that double crash, that double leg, that single leg, that high crash, all these different style of takedowns, and that chain wrestling where Buckley barely was able to get any offense. It got to the point where his coach was telling him to almost like switch up his stand-up style, the way he was standing up, to be more of like an angle so he doesn't have his hips square away and available for the takedown. It was a fantastic matchup for Usman, and again, a great showing for Buckley. I was thoroughly entertained by the main event. I thought that Buckley, he might have won the 5th round. It looked like he was landing some good shots against Usman, and towards the 5th round, Usman slowed down just quite a little bit, where Buckley was able to push off those takedowns and eventually get up, but it was too little, too late. That was a complete domination by Usman. I had it 4 rounds to 1. I was actually going for Buckley because I felt like he was just cleaning out that old guard, from finishing Wonder Boy to decapitating Covington, almost decapitating him, but it just completely dominating Covington. I felt like he's kind of like that new generation dynamic striker, very, very powerful. He has enough grappling to stay on the defense, and I thought he was going to get the job done. I felt like Usman, coming off a 3-fight losing streak since losing the belt, a little bit of time off. He's older now. There's always been rumors that he has really bad knees, which is not even a rumor. It's true. He said himself he can't even run as part of his workout leading up to the fights. So I think that everyone was saying, like, hey, you know what? Usman just has too many miles on him. He's over the hill, and Buckley's going to put him out. And it was really, really cool to see Usman go ahead and show that he still got it, that he's back and better than ever. I saw at the post-fight press conference, he was saying that for this fight, he only had to use one skill. And that is exactly true. Like, that is 100% true. All he did was use one skill to beat Buckley, where someone else with a better grappling is going to force him to use his striking, maybe his jiu-jitsu. And against Buckley, he didn't have to do anything. He literally was able to take him down, work down a little bit of ground and pound. He was able to cut him with the elbow and just suffocate him. And you saw the effects on Buckley as the fight wore off. Like, he looked very discouraged, especially around the 3rd round. And it was very hard for him to get his punches going. He was barely able to throw any kicks or get some real fluid combinations going. And big shout out to Usman. I think that this puts Usman back at the top of the division where he belonged, where he reigned for so many years. And I think that this sets him up for a big title fight against the winner of JDM or Islam. Who wouldn't want to see Islam versus Usman? Current pound-for-pound champion versus a former pound-for-pound top 5 fighter, right? Top 5 welterweights of all time, arguably, because of his reign. Defended the title 5 times, finishing Jorge Masvidal, finishing Gilbert Burns in their prime, right? No one can argue with that, and no one can take that away from Usman. So congratulations, Usman. What a fantastic victory. I think for someone like Buckley, I think that he goes back to the drawing board. I would like to see him maybe matched up against another well-rounded opponent, not necessarily a wrestler. I wouldn't book him against Bilal or Sean Brady. I think a good fight for him would be like an Ian Gary. That would be a fantastic matchup that I would definitely tune in for at the 170-pound division, or someone along those lines. I think there's a lot of dynamic strikers and a lot of up-and-coming guys, but it knocks him out of the top. Like, he wasn't really in the top 5, but he was in the top 5, but I think it knocks him down a little bit down the ladder. He's still top 10 fighter, so I would have him go against someone between 5 and 10. So I would have to look to see who's between 5 and 10 to better recommend. Let's take a quick look at the UFC rankings. Welterweight rankings. All right. So in the welterweight division right now, so he wasn't in the top 5. He was ranked number 7, and so that keeps him out of the top 5. Usman was in the top 5. You still have Shavkat, who's number 3, but I think for someone like Buckley, a Jeff Neal will be a fantastic fight. A Gilbert Burns, or maybe a surging fight against the surging Michael Morales, right? You have someone that's the future, the newer generation, and Buckley taking on someone like Michael Morales that just completely destroyed and obliterated Gilbert Burns. So I think for Buckley, put some wins together. For Usman, I think that solidifies him at the top of the division. Unless Shamkov gets a title fight, I think it makes sense for Usman to get a title fight. Shavkat. I said Shamkov. Sorry, guys. So Sean Brady should fight Shavkat, and Usman should fight the winner. I think Usman has a bigger name, but then again, Shavkat, he's an undefeated fighter. So let's see what the UFC does. Usman versus Sean Brady wouldn't be a bad fight either as a title eliminator. I think that's a fantastic stylistic matchup and something that I would love to see, right? That's someone that has the grappling credentials and the wrestling credentials to stop the takedowns, and even if he does get taken down, he could defend himself from the bottom. So I think Sean Brady would be a fantastic opponent for Usman. All right, perfect. So that sums it up for the main event. I think the main event was fantastic. Usman solidified his position in the top 5, kept Buckley out of the top 5, and that was a great matchup, and definitely a lot of takedowns. So both men should be very happy with the performance. They did it. Great main event, and honestly, that was probably the best fight of the night. I think they saved the event. Other than the prelims, the main card was a snoozer. On the co-main event, we had Rose Namajunas versus Miranda Maverick. I thought it was a cool fight. Rose Namajunas, she did what she had to do. I think that she has a really good, fun striking style, and I do felt like she was catching Miranda, but I think that it was just, her championship experience, she was just able to outwork Miranda when it really counted. I thought it was an entertaining fight, but I do think that towards the end, she was just content with winning the fight. Towards the end with those grappling exchanges, it didn't seem like Namajunas had much killer instinct, and I think that the scrambles is what won her the fight, and just her outworking Miranda in pivotal striking exchanges. It was a good fight, but nothing to really brag about or nothing major. I think she did enough to win. I think Miranda showed a lot of heart, but once again, it wasn't nothing that really stood out to me, other than Rose Namajunas outworking her, and then at the 3rd round in very pivotal positions, out scrambling her, and then kind of just laying there and winning the fight. It was okay. Miranda tried her best, but Rose Namajunas proved why she was the champion. So shout out to both ladies. Good performance, but not great, and it was cool. And in the fight prior to that, we had Edmen Shabazian versus Andre Petroski. I thought that was a good fight for Edmen Shabazian. Andre Petroski, towards the third round, it looked like he either hurt his arm or injured it or got hurt by trying to block a head kick. Edmen Shabazian, great, excellent takedown defense. I thought it was a good fight and a good, well-rounded showcasing of Edmen Shabazian's skills, because he was able to stop the takedown, push Andre against the fence just with his stand-up, and he was able to manage distance very, very well. And I thought that the feints was able to keep him from really developing anything or much momentum. So big win for Shabazian. One of the biggest disappointments of the fight, and I thought it was a horrible fight, was Barcelos versus Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt completely won the first round. But boy, man, Barcelo, bro, this guy is when you talk about a crotch sniffer, that's this guy, man. This guy is just doing anything he can to really just get in there and take you down and then and just hold you there. Like, this is someone that was just like stalling. I hate seeing this type of style. Like, I get it. It was fantastic. Cody seemed to be slowing down as the fight went on. And I mean, who wouldn't, from trying to stuff all those takedowns? But this was not fun to watch. That third round was dreadful. He just kept trying to engage the grappling exchange. And because Cody was so concerned about stopping the takedown, he was able to string his punches as early on, and you could see that towards later on he started getting tired. And I mean, this is someone that when he got back control, even though that is his position, he kind of just holding there. You know, I feel bad for Cody Garbrandt. You know, it's tough when in the UFC there's so many grapplers, and it's almost like, I don't want to say that the grapplers are like they have a easier path to victory than a striker, because they could just hold and stall these positions, and if they're in a dominant position, they could end up winning the fight. I thought it was a close fight. Cody Garbrandt definitely won the first round. Second round might have been a toss-up, and the third round, Barcelos, come on, man, he was just grappling and just holding him there. Not a big fan of that fight. The next fight was Cody Brundage versus Abdul Malik. I thought that was a little weird, that technical decision, right? Due to the foul. I've never seen a technical decision so early on in the fight, and a few of the broadcasters mentioned it, where they were like, "Hey, you know what? They didn't even complete a certain number of rounds." But yeah, it wasn't really nothing to write home about. Before that, it was Alonzo Minefield against Umar Sy. I think Sy had a great display, but once again, he just looked like a point fighter. Minefield came looking for that knockout, but he wasn't even setting up his punches. He was just throwing these big, massive bombs that you could see a mile away. I think Minefield is a fantastic athlete, but you got to set up your punches, you know. And I think that Sy did a good job of keeping him away with the kicks and working the distance and mixing in those takedowns. But he did look like he was just there to earn a decision, which is cool. You got the win, but to me, it wasn't the most entertaining fight, and a lot of fans were booing. Before that, one of the biggest moments of the night that we definitely got to talk about is Paul Craig versus Rodolfo Bellato. That had to be one of the weirdest sequences I've ever seen in my life. So if you did not tune in, so Paul Craig is on his back, and you know, Bellato is trying to engage Paul Craig in the grappling department, and Paul Craig is on his back throwing up kicks, and it seems like Bellato, you know, I wasn't clear if he was on his knees or halfway standing up, but either way, he gets kicked in the face, which is illegal in the UFC. Like, you can't up kick an opponent that has at least, you know, one knee on the ground. So it was an illegal up kick from Paul Craig that was completely accidental, right? He was just trying to get up, trying to create some space with his up kicks, and he kicks Bellato in his face. Bellato takes a second to look at the ref. He looks at the ref, acknowledges the foul, and then he gets knocked out. Like, he literally looked at the ref, and then he faints, and he goes unconscious, and then he starts twitching. He literally starts twitching, almost like trying to wake up, and then the ref comes to him, and he tries to grapple the ref. It was one of the weirdest sequences I've ever seen in the UFC. That was hilarious. It looked so fake, because like, I've never seen someone have such a delayed reaction to a knockout. I've never seen someone receive a knockout blow, right? A punch that knocks you out, and before you get knocked out, you take a second to acknowledge the referee. Like, he literally looked away from his opponent, acknowledged the ref, had a look of surprise, and then got knocked out. Like, it was the craziest thing. If he's acting, this guy should receive an Academy Award, because that was hilarious. I've never seen something like that in the UFC, and I think that it was just a very disappointing finish. Like he got knocked out, started twitching, and then came to. I don't know, guys. I think he was acting. I think he was looking for a way out of the fight. I feel like he wasn't there to win, and it's a very weird sequence. Like, it's something that is almost impossible to prove what really happened. Like, how are you going to prove that he was knocked out, right? Or, I mean, pardon me, how are you going to prove that he was acting? Like, that's almost impossible to do. But you can't ignore the fact that looked super suspicious. Like, that was up there with Peter Young versus Sterling when he got kneed in the face and was kind of like emphasizing the damage. But overall, it wasn't it wasn't a very entertaining event. It was cool, but it wasn't something that to write home about. I think it was a snoozer of a card. The undercard was completely a big letdown, and I think that there was one highlight reel knockout by this up and coming rising star, which I think was fantastic. And I think that when you think about the UFC now is entering a position where they need more stars. And someone like this gentleman, his name, he goes by Malcolm Wellmaker. I think that is fantastic. He did he with a walk away knockout punch, beautiful hook to knock out his opponent. I think he's definitely a rising prospect that we should follow. And I think overall UFC Atlanta was cool. It was a good event, but a snoozer of a card. So that's it for this portion of UFC. I think that I'd be remiss if I don't give a big shout out to Hitchens, who defended his lightweight championship in the world of boxing against Kamboza and got the finish by brutal body punch. It was a shot to the liver that put down Kamboza. A lot of people are calling for Kamboza to retire. I think that he still has some name and marketability, so he should continue to fight. Why not? You got Manny Pacquiao fighting his 40s. I think Kamboza is a very exciting fighter. He brought the action. He came to kill or be killed, and he ended up getting knocked out. There's no shame in losing to someone like Hitchens, who's not only a prospect, but he's a very tough up and coming fighter who's already champion. So I wouldn't even call him a prospect. He's already a champion. So he's definitely a very exciting fighter. He reminds me of a better version of Haney because he has a knockout power. So that sums it up for this episode number 22 of the First Strike Podcast. Here we strike first, we talk later. Thank you guys for supporting the podcast. Make sure that you comment, like, subscribe. Every single day I'll be bringing you some content, and of course you could follow us on Instagram. That's the main social media platform that we use. This episode we covered UFC Atlanta, talked a little bit of Kamboza. I'll see you guys next week. And of course, before I say bye, happy Father's Day to all the fathers around the world. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Love you. Have a great day.